Ragnarok, directed by apologies in advance if I say it incorrectly, but a Taika Waititi. I've been really looking forward to Marvel's latest entry in a cinematic universe, that being Thor Ragnarok. I really like the Thor movies. I think it's a lovely blend of fantasy and mythology, and I just really like them. When it comes to Thor Ragnarok, it was like a breath of fresh air when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We finally got a Marvel movie where it feels like the stakes are really high and they felt very much real. And you get that feeling in this film that no character is safe, even Thor, and I really like that. This film for me really did break out of the shackles of that Marvel formula. Even though you could still see Kevin Feige pulling at the leash a little bit, for me, it really did break those shackles. And as a result, ended up becoming a breath of fresh air. I really enjoyed this movie. It was a blast. This was probably, for me anyway, one of the most brutal and maybe graphic of Marvel movies to date. Now, there were some scenes in this film where I thought they really pushed their luck, really, when it comes to sort of brutality and what you can get away with seeing in a 12A movie. Very quick moments, very quick scenes, and for those that have seen the movie might know what moments that I'm referencing. I'm not gonna say what, because this is a spoiler-free review. But for me, this was probably one of the most brutal Marvel movies to date. And for me, that made this film feel a lot more real within this fantasy world. And again, that I really dug. And that also helped add a real sense of threat. That's, like I said, the chances of that someone could actually lose their life, or, something that these movies have been lacking, but this movie had. And even though the stakes are very high and felt very real, and the consequences were very dark, this movie was still a very fun experience. It was very funny, very bright, very colourful. I loved the humour in this film. There were some really laugh out loud moments. There were moments in this film where I laughed out loud, and it's very rare that have happened to me in a Marvel movie. And it's the humour in this film that really balances out the tone in this film very well. It's a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, but at the same time explores that dark threat that the characters are facing at the same time, and it balances those two sort of aspects out very well. It's a good blend of comedy, humour, and impending doom, you could say. This was a very fun, exciting, cosmic adventure. It was like watching an 80s fantasy science fiction B movie. It had that 80s aesthetic about the film, which includes the music. Absolutely loved the music in this film. I'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, this overall film felt very 80s B movie, and it was great. It's colourful, it's fun, but it also has a certain amount of darkness underlying all of that, which gives this movie a feel of real and dark consequences. Chris Hemsworth as Thor, he was great in this. This was like a showcase of Chris Hemsworth's comedic side. Really, he was really funny in this film, and his character has evolved, and his character grows in this film, and that's what I really liked about it, was that this is not the same Thor that we were introduced to back in the first film. This is a character that has actually grown and is continuing to grow, and he's not that sort of very stiff, serious character anymore. He's now a character that really sort of more laid back, you could say, and looks back at life, or looks at life in more of a sarcastic way, and has more of a okay, whatever attitude. And I like that. This was a character that has evolved and continues to grow, and I liked what Chris Hemsworth did with the character in this film. I really loved Cate Blanchett's performance as Hela, the goddess of death. the villain of the movie. I thought she was really, really good. You could tell she was really enjoying playing the character and she was having a blast. And she really hams the performance up. But it works, especially in this type of movie and the tone they were going for and everything. Her character and what she did with it, which was very hammy, you could say, but it worked. And I loved the design of Hela, with those sort of spikes. They'd come out of her head. It was almost like a mask, or like a helmet or something. But I just loved the look of it. As goes with the rest of the movie, I mean, the aesthetic of this film, I really, really dug. I loved the overall look of the movie. Tom Hiddleston returns as Loki. He was okay. He was more on the sidelines in this film, really. I sort of wanted them to explore his character a little more, to be honest with you, and spend a little bit more time with his character. But he was more on the sidelines. And Jeff Goldblum, I was really looking forward to seeing him in this film. I'm a big fan of Jeff Goldblum, and he plays the Grand Master, and he was great as the Grand Master. The Grand Master being one of the elders of the universe and the brother of the Collector, just in case you didn't know. And in this, he's classic Goldblum. Very quirky. A lot of his characters in the films that he's been in are very quirky. And as far as I know, he likes to improvise quite a lot. And there's a lot of improvisation in this movie, in the scenes that he was in. And you can see that. And I really, really like that because it adds a bit more realism, I feel, to the film and the characters. It makes the characters feel more real and gives them a unique and different identity. In a way, improvisation gives the characters more of a identity and an original identity. The only little gripe I've got when it comes to Goldblum's character is I wanted to see a little bit more of him doing a bit of a dance, playing some music. For those that have seen the film and know what I'm on about, but I could have sat there watching that scene for another 10 minutes with him doing his thing, So that was one of my only little gripes. Actually, I hope it's in the deleted scenes of the Blu-ray, because I'll definitely be getting this film on Blu-ray. The soundtrack, composed by Mark Mothersbaugh, was great. I absolutely adored the soundtrack in this film. I love 80s synth anyway, and they really utilised that in this film. And I felt like the soundtrack in this film perfectly reflects the tone of the film very, very well. It accompanies the tone of the movie brilliantly. And it added a lot of excitement to the action scenes. I mean, the action scenes are very exciting anyway, but accompanied by, the 80s sort of synth soundtrack, it added even more excitement and fun, and it felt like it was really immersing in a way. The soundtrack also helped immerse you into this movie, and it's an immersive movie anyway, but the soundtrack really helped do that and engage you into the film. And on the action, the action was very fun and very exciting and very well shot. I really dug the direction in this movie by Taika Waititi, and when it comes to the action, it was very well shot, and it had action where you see everything. None of the close-up sort of shaky cam, none of that. Lovely wide shots of action, and there's a bit of slow motion used in this movie, quite a bit actually, but I liked it, and it was utilised very, very well. For example, there's a beautiful scene where you've got Hela sort of fighting against the Valkyrie, which is like a battalion of female soldiers on flying horses, and they are charging into they're sort of charging towards Hela. It's in the trailers actually, that moment, but it's a beautiful moment. The way that moment is shot, the colours, the lighting, the shadows on Hela and the lighting on Hela, and then you've got the Valkyrie coming in, charging towards her. I loved it. It looked great. It was a visually pleasing movie. I really, really dug the look of the film. And the action in this film in places is quite brutal, like I previously mentioned. For example, the climax, which involves Thor and Hela There was a moment during that climax which actually made me and a few others in the audience gasp and sort of wince away from, and turn your head away from the screen, because it was brutal and I just didn't expect it, and it brought a smile to my face, because that was when it was in those moments that I was thinking, yes, you know, they're breaking free of that Marvel formula a little bit. You know, they're breaking free of those shackles, and it added a certain amount of edginess, you could say, or darkness, and it's that brutality I felt that really sort of added a sense of no one is safe anymore, and that people are, you know, can be broken no matter who you are. If you're the Hulk, if you're Thor, if you're Iron Man, you can be broken, and it adds a real sense of threat to the movie, something that I feel like a lot of the Marvel movies were lacking in, and what I really wanted. And it adds realism. For me, it just adds a sense of realism, which I like in these type of films. When it comes to fantasy and all of that, I just prefer a bit of realism and groundedness, no matter how wacky the story is, because this film is a very wacky film, and it's very, you know, it's very out there, but, you know, it's a fantasy movie, but it also has a certain amount of realism, which I really liked. The Thor versus Hulk scene, you know, that gladiator scene by you, it was great. I really, really enjoyed it. It was very funny. That scene drew a few laughs from the audience. I laughed. I mean, there were a few funny moments in it, and it was fun, and it was enjoyable. But that leads me into the CGI and the special effects of this film. And I thought the CGI was very good. And it was really, really good in places. Okay, and overall, the CGI in this film, the special effects, was good. It was very good. But for me, it was just way too much CGI in this film. And okay, perhaps they couldn't get away with that. I mean, at the end of the day, you're on other planets, you're in a fantasy world. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of CGI. But I don't know if this was just me, but there was an awful lot of use of blue screen, green screens in this film, and you could tell, there were moments where you could actually tell they were on a blue screen set or a green screen set. Is that just me? Let me know below. But yeah, I felt like there was a slight overuse of CGI in this film, especially when it comes to the actual sets, and you could actually tell they weren't on a real set in moments. And for me, that was a slight disappointment, but overall the effects in this film were very good. I mean, everything looked really, really nice, but yeah. I also really liked the script in this film. It was very tight and very witty, and I really, really liked it. And this was a very fast-paced and, you know, very quick-moving film. Events happen very, very quickly, and that again is reflected in the script as well. And it works. It does work in this film, and I think in a way that sacrificed a few of the characters in their sort of development and sort of digging a little bit deeper into knowing why they do what they do and all of that. But for what they were aiming for with this film when it comes to tone and humour and just having a blast, it works. It all sort of works. When it comes to the humour, again, I mean, there were moments in this film that made me generally laugh out loud, and that's very rare for me in a Marvel movie. And there was one moment where you got Stan Winston. He obviously makes a cameo. I mean, he's always made a cameo in these movies, and it's a very, very funny moment. I loved it, and it was mainly down to Chris Hemsworth's performance and his reaction to what's about to happen in that scene that really made me laugh and realise Chris Hemsworth can be quite a funny man. And there was also a moment when Hulk, Banner, and there's a moment in the third act where he has to try and stop one of Hela's pets. That's all I'm going to say. And he jumps out. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say about that moment. And everyone in the audience just laughed. It was a very, very funny moment and brutal as well, but Oh, it was so funny, and I think probably one of the funniest moments actually in any of the Marvel movies was Banner and this scene involving Hela's pet, and it was great. For me, this was one of Marvel's best movies. One of, not perfect, but it was one of the best. It's up there with the Captain America movies. Well, the second and third Captain America. Um, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And I can't wait to get the soundtrack as well, because I absolutely adored the soundtrack in this film, and I can't wait to get it on Blu-ray either. And it's just over 2 hours, but it doesn't feel like it's over 2 hours. It's like 2 hours 10 minutes, but it's probably smack on 2 hours when you got the credits as well, haven't you? So yeah, a really enjoyable film. It's a blast. I can't wait to get my hands on it when it comes out on Blu-ray, and I will be giving Thor Ragnarok an A. What do you guys think of the latest Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, Thor Ragnarok? Let me know below. Yeah, I really, really liked it, but what do you guys think of it? That's what I really want to know, so let me know. And do you know what? Seeing as we're on the subject of superhero movies, with Marvel, Justice League is just around the corner, and I cannot wait for that film. You can actually buy tickets now, and I'll be buying my tickets very, very soon for that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Got a little bit of an announcement coming up next. It's going to be a quick video of me just announcing something, so stay tuned. That will be up next. And again, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and if you like me and you share the same passions, then why not hit subscribe?